Hello everyone, welcome to the channel. My name is Peter Dance and I am part of Team Fusion Force. Today, obviously, you might have seen quite a few, hopefully, of my deck profiles over the maybe the years or the months regarding obviously Invoker. Um, I got the pleasure of playing Invoker in the last three online regionals that's happened this month in May. And I wanted to talk about what I kind of changed because I changed something about the deck in each particular one, and also just go over, because I was asked a few times, kind of my opinions on the D Magic stuff and potentially what the future looks like. So I just want to cover a few bits. This will be a slightly different type of deck profile. I'm not going to go over each of the old cards that you guys have seen a million times. I would recommend for anyone perhaps new or want to learn how Invoker works turn by turn, things like that. It's probably best to see my old deck profiles because this one feels it's like it's going to be a bit more focused on maybe some of the changes I've done, and of course, the evolution since winning Bristol, and go from there really. So obviously my Invoker leader, as you know. So I just want to look at. So this was obviously Germany. So this is before the event I won in Bristol. So this was July in Germany. I came well joint second if you like, but they put me as third. So this was BT28. I mean, I'm sure you guys have probably seen this list. It has changed since then, but a lot of the core cards are still here. So I'm not gonna. One of the biggest changes on this one was the Z deck because I really worked on this because this Z deck was more sort of thrown together. And then what I've noticed as the versions will move along, I'm changed the main deck a bit more, and I also made the Z deck and side deck a lot better, I feel. So this is obviously what I ran in Germany, um, kind of bringing Invoker back into the meta, if you like, at the time. And yeah, I think it was really good, but the side deck was, sorry, the Z deck was really bad. So then we came to Bristol, which is the one I won. For some reason, the screenshot on that one is not quite as good as the other one, so let's go view deck instead. Obviously, D Magic's not banned yet. Sad face. But yeah, so this one was kind of a bit of an improvement on the Z deck, massively improved. If my memory's correct. Yeah, it did because I've not got the Z leader and stuff like that. It was a lot better. And again, there was some new ideas I was testing, like with the Jiren, for example, which is no longer in the deck, but it was kind of cool because you can use it to pick up like your Z Unison if you needed to, and what have you. So yeah, this was again me testing a few ideas. I'm not gonna go too much in these because these were not BT30, but this was BT28 because of course we had the freezer. Yeah, the freezer was obviously what I included in BT28. But yeah, so this was in my eyes kind of one of the more staple builds, and obviously we had explosive dance. So looking at the oh sorry, this is Bristol brought up again, but on Bandai's website. So what I decided to do was I played Invoker, like say, all three online events, and this was the version I first played. So this one came ninth. The other two, just to jump forward, I know this today was top 32. Um, I'm pretty sure it was top 32 for the week before. So, bit of a disappointment on this today and 2 weeks ago. But this one did come eighth. And to put it in perspective, today I played against four Boos and I beat two of them. So, even though Boo is the scary, it is possible to win against it. but it's hard. So one of the big changes I made on this one was I increased it to 54 cards instead of 52, because of course we had the addition of this card, the Ultra Technique, which is an amazing card. So one of the big changes I made is I dropped the 4-drop red Goku, and then I added this one. This one, obviously, for anyone that may not know, you basically pay one, you send one card from your warp to your drop, you draw a card. And then this really helps with Z charging as well, because when you attack, you Z charge a card and you can Z charge an extra card, draw a card, and restand. Now, obviously, because of Tournament of Power, this card, in theory, is a draw 3 with Invoker. Because, of course, let's say you had Death Beam in the Warp. You've looked at the top 3 with Tournament of Power. You play this, you put the Death Beam in your drop, you warp so you've drawn a card, then you warp the Death Beam to hopefully get multicolored, right? Because you've seen the top 3. That then draws you another card, and then this attacks, and you draw another card. So, I mean, in a sense, you've only plused 1 if you like, but you've seen 3 new cards. So yeah, very good card, and it's 25k. If it was 15k, it probably wouldn't get looked at. Even with all the benefits, maybe, I don't know. I'm not really sure, but the fact it's 25 is crazy good. The fact it's blocker revenge doesn't really matter, if I'm honest with you, because normally I attack with it twice, because why not? Um, and there wasn't much else that's changed in the main deck. I kind of honed in a little bit more on the double striker, because also this counterplay started to work against the yellow Damaku deck, because if he goes to evolve and I activate this, I can kill the 1-drop and then the evolve fizzles. And you can do similar things with Boo as well. So I don't think I remember. I think I dropped it down to 1 in one of my lists for Bristol or Germany. I forgot which one. I tried the combination attack. I got rid of this eventually. I think for the week after, but I don't think it's a very good card. And I kind of just built very similar list. Now, the side deck is what changed quite a lot with this one. So I added the Violent Rays because my initial reaction was using it against Boo, because Boo had a lot of 30k swingers. The problem was when I used this, they would pivot to the 4-drops. So it kind of didn't do, obviously, what I hoped it would achieve. So even though I've got 2 copies of Violent Rays, I tried it for this tournament and I didn't feel like it was good, so I dropped it. Um, a lot of these are the same as before, so I'm not going to go over them. Like I say, if you want me to go in details, just watch up my previous videos. This was obviously a new one as well in BT30. This card is amazing for the deck, because one of the great weaknesses with the deck is Yellow Sin. Obviously, Yellow Sin is also banned now, but this is an easy answer to it, because of course we've got Universe, so we can play it. It ignores barrier, warps a 4 or less, which is just amazing. The attack can come up because you can still burst and you can still give it 5k. Because again, you don't play obviously a maiden, a 2-cost, but you can still make it 25k, which again is that sweet spot. With the burst, because you can look at the top 3, it could be relevant. It might not. You don't obviously have to do it, but it is a really cool card. I still had I did drop it, spoiler alert, but I did still have the Vegeta. Because I think when if I'm honest with myself, when I made this side deck, I was being a bit lazy about it. I was like, I didn't really think about changing the Z deck the side deck much. I just sort of went with what I had before, and then literally was like, okay, what new cards do I want to do, or what kind of small changes, and that's the sort of big stuff. I had to drop explosive down to 2 because I used to run 3 copies, and I still had to increase the deck size. Z deck, the only card that changed was this card, and this is really, really good. Big fan of this card. It's another finisher, But obviously, because it kills energy, it is a very extreme finisher. So, like, if I'm against a black deck who's at, like, say, 2 life and they're fully tapped out, that's when I would do it. Like, I wouldn't do it against, a green deck with a unison up or something like that, or anyone I know who's got battle tricks. And it's also nice removal as well. So this is a really good card I added. I think I dropped the Beerus if my memory is correct. Um, but so yeah, that was the only change I did on my side deck. So this was the deck I used to come ninth, which was also on obviously deck profiles and what have you. So yeah, this is a good list. So then what I started to do was I wanted to experiment with. You'll see the experiment in the next list and the one today. Me and my friend Dave, so shout out to Dave because he gave me the idea. We were talking about um, some old cards, and he gave me the idea of Overrealm. Well, there's a particular Overrealm, which I'll show you here. This Bardock, which is when it's played with Overrealm, you warp everything that's 6 or more to the warp. Now, obviously, it was a great idea because obviously all the boo cards, the big boys, are 6, and 8s, which is perfect because it sends them to the warp, they can't get them again. Obviously, because of the barrier, which is luckily banned now, but because of the barrier, this kind of didn't really come up. But it's the first time in like forever, if ever, that Invoker ever even considered an Overrealm. And that's why I'm still doing like this deck profile, even though I feel like my performance, at least for the other 2 days, was a little bit underwhelming. I do believe I've made some interesting ideas with the deck and wanted to share those. So I hope you enjoy this bit at least. So this was an Overrealm. I think this is really good after the ban list because obviously this can warp a lot. And again, I don't really need my drop because when we used to run Invoker of old, you had Apex, which needed 5 multicolored extras in the drop. We also ran like MVP, which is technically in the side on this version, and we ran a few things that needed the drop a bit more. With this, it's an extra 25k swing, and because Invoker can now kill you like turn 3, turn 4, it's just a surprise factor too. So when it comes to the deck, there's 2 things I wanted to focus on. I wanted to add the Overrealm, and I wanted to bring it down to 52 because I kind of, even though I increased it to 54, I I felt it was a little bit off, and I wanted to bring it back. So the things I removed was I removed Explosive Dance. So the reason I also removed that was because I felt like all the new decks are Z charging very easy. And because of that reason, I thought there's no point having explosive dance anymore ultimately. Um, and I don't even have it in. Oh yeah, I still have it in the side on this version, but spoiler alert, I take it out completely. And I'll talk about explosive dance in a second. But yeah, this is very similar to before, but I dropped the explosive dance and added this overarm. So not much of a difference. The side deck did change a little bit. I thought about it a little bit more, and I thought about some combos. So when I was against blue Goji to BR, I thought a lot of my stuff dies quite easily because again they've got deflect and they can bottom deck my stuff. So I was thinking, okay, maybe bring back Phantom Fist for anyone that's played Invoker for a long time or know about it. This was a card Legends reintroduced to the world many, many, many moons ago. I'm talking probably about like when Dark Broly was meta. So like set 12, set 13, something like that maybe. But yeah, it ultimately what would normally happen is turn 4 comes around, you activate this by discarding MVP. So because well, you can discard a red card, but normally you do that right for free. And then what will happen is at the end of the turn, well, start of your, if you like, main opponent's main phase, you untap an energy and you minus 15 something. So what used to happen before the unison was in existence, this was a way to get MVP for 2 energy. Because if you think about it, you're at 4, you pay 3 for MVP because obviously it costs 3 now, and then the Phantom Fist would untap you an energy, so you would start your turn with 2. Obviously now because of the unison, you actually start your turn then with an extra energy. So I thought about it. I never used it. And again, I've decided to drop it. I feel like it's too much of a combo to side in, because when I'm doing my sides, I prefer, if possible, to keep to 2 cards. And that's obviously 3. I did have the Explosive Dance because I do think Explosive Dance is good against old decks. I have decided to drop it completely in the one I played today, but I'll tell you why in a second. I just feel like Explosive Dance is just not good right now. I kept these in for Krillin and like any kind of tokeny based decks. Obviously, I still keep the Zamasu in for red. I added the Meki because in my head I could call 6-drop Boo, right? And that would lock a lot of the Boos out. The problem was it by the time it came up, it was too late. So this is too slow. I can't search for it. So it was an idea, but it didn't really work. I also added Dark Dragon Slaying Bullet, which is something I didn't used to run at 2. I ran it at 1. But I put it to 2. I don't remember if I did that to the last one in May, but I put it to 2 for the Unison base decks and things like that. And then, of course, the Z deck is the same. So this was my first wave of testing black. Now, this is where the real spice comes in. So I thought to myself, let's experiment more with black, because maybe I can charge black, right? Because these are black cards, even though they look not black. So I thought to myself, okay, if turn 4 I do Bardock, the one that's now limited to 1, then that should guarantee me turn 4 to turn 5. And obviously with this deck, you win on turn 5. So the version I played today looks like this. Now, as you can see, there's quite a few differences. So the big one is I decided to main deck this card. So my idea was turn 4, I would charge one of these. And then I can activate this turn 4. And then going into turn 5, I can either Zeno this out, or when I do my 6-drop combo, obviously that can get me out, because the thing is with Rival Seeker, it's 1 colorless, 1 red, 1 blue. So obviously I can pay the black for it and then get rid of the black for a multicolored. So I thought to myself, okay, let's try this out, because again, Boo being the big boogeyman, my logic was do this turn 4, you guarantee pretty much turn 5. I will say that this card did not perform, and I think it's because I don't have enough black cards to charge, ultimately. So would I run this again? No, is the question. However, will I run Overrealm? Yes, 100%. I think there's a lot of space to explore with Overrealm, and I have some side deck, which I'll show you in a second. But I think with this, you forget about this. It sounds really cute. Obviously, it works in other decks because they have more black cards to charge. With this one, I don't think I like it. So, and then the rest of the deck is the same. Yeah, because all I did was change the Bardocks around, and everything else was the same. Now, the Z deck is exactly the same. So the main difference now is the side deck, because again, I spend more time thinking about it and spending my effort there, because I'm very happy with the main and side deck. Now, I decided to test these Despos. Now, it would be the blue Vegeta, but I couldn't find them. So I decided to use these ones. So I like these because there's Gogeta BR is in the meta, and also U7 Black is in the meta. So with this, the idea is you negate the leader, and then they can't restand and attack you again. Now, the other good thing is you can spirit boost this for 2 as well. So, it's for free. I think it's an interesting card. I didn't side it in because I didn't play against U7 or Gogeta BR today. Um, but it is something I wanted to test. So, will it be at 2 copies? My gut reaction says you could probably leave it at 1, but I think it's worth running. Or if you feel like you might need an extra negate, maybe that's something as well. I lowered Teamworks to 1 because Tien hasn't really existed in ages. Token negates don't really work, but if I'm against a deck that I know that runs a counter, this is probably a good idea. So I'm going to leave it at 1 and see what happens. This I think this was out on one of them, and I put it back in today on this one in case I face against Zamasu Mill. Zamasu is still in. The Ribs are still in, which well, technically it's not Ribian, but yeah, the whole Maiden squad. So I've left this in. This is obviously going to be a staple. And then I decided to put in one of each overrealm. So I still left this in, the Bardock, because I thought to myself, if I was against Shenrons or like anything else that I know is going to be 6 or above, sure, I can just side this in for the Bardock. And then I decided, you know what? I faced a U2 deck last time, and obviously there's a lot of 2-drops. So I was like, okay, maybe let's try ID and see how that works, right? Because again, the good thing about having this Overrealm slot here now is I can explore different ideas with Overrealm. And again, I think that's so cool. And I'm looking forward to, well, I was, aka D Magic, looking forward to how the Overrealm could evolve. And of course, I would gladly like to see anyone else do well with Invoker and see if, how they explore with the Overrealm space. But I think it's definitely going to change, hopefully, people's minds and start running it. Personally, the Bardock, in my head, the Bardock goes, and I'd probably main deck Masayan. But you've also got the Vegeta, the SS4 one, the on-play warp battle card. So there's a couple options, right? I haven't explored all the overrealms to see if there's anything I'd prefer, but I think it's fine. Obviously, still got the Dragon Slayer. So Protect the People was one I added, which I was very happy I added today. So again, I was looking at the U2 matchup, and the problem is my floodgates do absolutely nothing against it, and I don't have explosive dance anymore. So I need a floodgate for decks that go low to the ground, very wide, because Prospect is a great card, but against U2, for example, it does absolutely nothing. So I didn't play against U2, but I did play in round 2 against Yellow Ginyu. And I was so happy I studied these in. It was his 3 energy, and I decided not to, like, I had Protector in my hand, and I decided not to use it. And I literally went down from 8 to like 2 life or something in that turn. And I was like, huh, okay. That was a mistake not doing that, but you live and learn, right? I mean, obviously, I still won the match because, again, Protect the People was the MVP of that matchup. The side deck didn't change. Sorry, the Z deck. So this is like the final evolution. And I think it's interesting that I've made some choices to the deck that we weren't using before. Now I also want to show. So first of all, that's the end of the tournament conversation. So I want to cover 2 things. One, a new deck I was messing around with for Invoker, or new style, which you could probably see at the top in my categories a little bit. which is Ramp Invoker. Ignore my other tabs. They're about other stuff. But anyway, I was testing some ideas, but in terms of like the tournament, that's the end of that video. Um, I was happy with what I did on the first one. I was happy I got to test different things. But bit sad about my performance today, especially. But like I said, I played against four boos and I beat at least two. I beat two of them. And obviously I beat boos on previous days as well. So I want to cover a little idea I was testing, which was Ramp Invoker. So I don't think this is a great idea, but it was interesting. So it's all about obviously the Bournemouth Secret Rare. So this is like a bonus deck profile, if you like. Um, so I was testing this out, and what I did was the idea was I would hyper cycle through my deck. So that's why I've got 4 copies of like Demon, 4 Death Beams, 4 Royals, 4 Cat Blows, and the idea is these will circle through your deck quite a lot. I mean, there's the C deck doesn't matter because again, and I'm running 4 of these because the idea I had at the time was I would ramp, and then literally just like burn you either 8-0. You know what I mean? Like I could play 2 of these and then like do 2 damage, and then burn you for 5, right? So like the idea is I would do 6-0. That was the plan. Uh, it worked okay. It's not going to be the answer. I can tell you that for certain. But if anyone wants to work on a rampy burn version, this is your start. Obviously, ignore like some of the stuff. I just was like messing. Obviously, there's no finished Z deck at all. The androids I never played, so even though they're there, I don't think it's worth it. So don't worry about that. I had 52 because I like 52, but I think there was not enough multicolored extras in this version, if I'm honest. So I think even though I love these Gokus because they're great for the cycle and the Z charge, I think you drop the Gokus and put like maybe more multicoloreds in. But yeah, there you go. That's that is a little extra deck profile for you happy people. So just to go to my final thoughts about, I guess, the future for Invoker, right? Because it's not looking great, but also we don't know all the answers yet. So if we get a good floodgate, then the ban of D magic is fine. If we don't, so let's assume we get nothing new for red or blue or any other color. I personally think that the deck is done. I don't think I'm gonna be playing it. I would love for someone to sort of take the reins and prove me wrong. But ultimately, the deck is very hard to win modern decks. And without D Magic, I don't think you do. Now, if I was say building this, you could obviously just change D Magics for beans, and that would be a simple 1-for-1 trade, and then you see how that functions, right? That would be like if D Magic was banned today, and I wanted to play this, I would put beans in and just see how it goes. Um, and that's it really. That's all. That's what I would change. But yeah, I think personally, I'm gonna stop playing the deck for a period of time, which is unfortunate because it's done me well. I've played it for a long time. But I think it's finally time to sort of move on a little bit. Obviously, I'm gonna wait for the spoilers for black. Sorry, for the colors for like especially obviously blue. See what we get. Obviously, red, like the deck's got nothing from red so far that I would say that I would run in Invoker. Um, but you know, who knows, right? Who knows? So yeah, that's my final thoughts. So as always, guys, comment if you like to at the bottom. Ask me questions, DM me, more than welcome to. But at the moment, I'm not so hopeful, and I think this might be the end. But then we also have multicolored coming in BT32, right? So maybe we come back. But yeah, this is Peter signing off. Have a wonderful time and take care, buddies. Bye.